Why does this thing has audio inputs? What's up everybody, Sarajay here. If you also wonder why most Elektron devices has an external audio input wired in, then keep watching because I found two really cool ways to employ the external input on the Syntakt and on the Analog Rytm that unlock really crazy sound design possibilities. Let's go. Okay, let's start with the Syntakt. We're gonna route audio from the Analog Rytm. It can be any synth you want, it doesn't really matter, as long as you use 2-jack output and you connect into the L and R of the Syntakt in. And then to hear sound, you have to make sure by pressing Funk and 3 times LFO that in the external input mixer, the input is not at 0. And then we want to route the external in into the effects block by toggling this one. Here I already programmed a little pattern on the rhythm, and if we start unmuting tracks, you will start hearing the sound. And notice that it's coming from the Syntakt only, because if I turn down this, everything goes away. And then of course you can unmute tracks from the Syntakt, having 2 machines playing together. But once we have this setup, what can we do with it? So I think the way to see it is that the Syntakt in this case becomes kind of an effect, like an audio processor unit. You can apply from the same effects page delay or reverb. For the whole incoming signal. But I think the really cool thing is that you can route it to the effects block. If you don't know how the effects block work on the Syntakt, check out this video popping up here somewhere. But yeah, the moment you start routing audio into the effects block, things start to get a bit more interesting. So first of all, we have to enable the in thingy there. Then we want to have, let's do only filter trigger for now. And now we see that there are already some triggers in the effect block sequencer. So if I start putting the audio, like this is not passing through the effects block, and like this it is. So now you can play with the drum pattern, for instance, together with the other elements, to make some kind of variation. So you can do I'm also applying delay and reverb, and the LFO is on the amp, so I can do this. This is really cool if you want to have some kind of variation in your beat. Let's say you have something like this here on the Syntakt, and then at a certain point you want to do something a bit more spacey. But the fun doesn't stop here, because for instance if I do something a bit more melodic, things get really cool. A bit of sound design on the rhythm as well. Check together with the beat. Note that without routing these into the effects block, now we're going to route the audio from the Syntakt to the Analog Rytm. So we have few options. We have the audio in, which is the one used for sampling. We're not going to use it. We have the external in, which is similar to what we did with the Syntakt, meaning that you can apply the filter, the delay, and so on. But then you have the control in, which is the coolest in my opinion. And we're going to use it a bit in a hacky way, and I'll show you in a minute why. We're going to connect the other output of the Syntakt to one external in, so we can hear what we're doing. And you can tell it's only coming from the left if you have headphones. And it's coming through the Analog Rytm, because if I turn it down completely, I don't hear anything. Okay, so what is this control in? There is a hidden menu in the global setting and control. And if you go to control input 1, you see that whenever I press something on Syntakt, the things move. This is the things move. But in order to move it properly, you have two modes here, by the way. One is CV, but it's a very different voltage range compared to the Syntakt audio output. And you have a expression mode, which is the expression pedal kind of thingy. So we're going to use it in a bit of a hacky way today. We're going to take an audio signal, not a CV, not an expression pedal kind of signal. We're going to take an audio signal, we're going to throw it into the Analog Rytm. And to have the range correctly, you can press expression learn, make a very strong, hard hi-hat sample, for instance, sound that goes like sta, something very fast, so that the machine understands the range over which this bar will move. So I do this once, and now whenever I press it, it goes up. And so now that we have calibrated that thing, we can go in the kit menu and decide what that signal that you see here, and then I can trigger like this what is going to control. So to select what track is going to be affected, you just press the encoder until you find the one that you want. For us, it's going to be the snare drum, where I have a bass, and then you can turn it to decide what to modulate. Something that works really well is the envelope depth. You can put the modulation quite high, and then if we go to the filter, there's already some envelope, but look what happens when I unmute it and then put on some kind of hi-hat sound. If I unmute this now, removing the input so we don't hear the stuff. Now if to this bass that without modulation sounds like this, we start to send some signal from the Syntakt to the rhythm. Now I have hi-hats unmuted, so I can play with that. Check this. And I can make the hi-hat longer. And of course you can assign different things to the same kind of modulation signal, and you can send any audio you want, any track you want. They're gonna sum up and make this signal over here look different. You can also adjust the modulation intensity by simply changing the signal by the main volume of the Syntakt, so you can bring the modulation in and out when you want. modulating the tom as well. Wow, very cool stuff, right? So many possibilities. You can use any sound of the Syntakt as a modulation signal for so many parameters on the rhythm. So today we've looked at what you can do with the input of the Syntakt, and that's basically effect and processing audio coming from any other sources. In this case, this is the rhythm, and what you can do with the control in on the rhythm. The audio in and X in are famous, and we know what they do. But the control in for me was a really cool discovery, because if he works with the signal of the Syntakt, he works with any audio signal. You can also put a microphone and go wah, and something is gonna happen to all the parameters of the rhythm. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also check Kopo-san on the major streaming platform if you're curious about the music I'm doing. Have a good one and see you next time.